You're exhausted. Not from work, not from lack of sleep. You're exhausted from carrying things that were never yours to carry. Other people's opinions, past failures, imagined futures. The noise, endless, relentless noise, that fills your mind the moment you're alone. You want to be stronger. You already know that. But no one has ever told you what to stop doing to get there. Today, that changes. Let me speak directly to you, not to a version of you that's polished, optimistic, or performing for someone else. I'm talking to the version of you that lies awake at night replaying conversations. The version that checks his phone for validation he knows won't come. The version that starts strong on Monday and loses himself by Thursday. That version of you is not weak, but he is wounded. And the wound isn't from the world. It's from everything you've refused to let go of. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, these were not sheltered philosophers sitting in comfort, writing theories. Marcus Aurelius led armies, buried children, watched his empire shake from within, and still rose every morning with disciplined intention. Epictetus was a slave, a literal slave, and he became one of the greatest minds in Western history. Seneca watched powerful men scheme to destroy him and still wrote with fire about what it means to live deliberately. What did they all have in common? They understood one thing most men never learn. Mental strength is not about what you pursue. It is about what you refuse. Not refusing in weakness, not avoiding, not retreating. Refusing with intention. There are things in your life right now, invisible weights you carry, that are slowly, quietly destroying your ability to think clearly, act decisively, and move forward with power. Today I'm going to name 10 of them, and I want you to listen carefully, not as entertainment, as instruction. By the end of this, you will understand why certain men move through life with calm, authority, untouchable, unshaken, deeply purposeful, while others spin endlessly in frustration and reaction. The difference is not talent, not luck, not circumstance. The difference is what they choose to ignore. 1. The opinions of people who don't pay your bills. The first thing you must ignore is what other people think of you. And I know, you've heard this before. Motivational speakers say it all the time. Posters on walls say it. But here's what they don't tell you. You're not ignoring opinions because you're confident. You're ignoring them because most people judging you are not qualified to do so. Think about that. The man criticizing your ambition. What has he built? The woman mocking your silence. Does she understand discipline? The family member questioning your path. Have they ever walked one themselves? Epictetus wrote, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" There is something almost humorous in that. Epictetus is saying, they don't even know the half of it, and yet I still walk forward. Modern life has amplified this poison to catastrophic levels. Social media has given every unqualified observer a platform. Every person with insecurities and an internet connection now has the ability to project their unresolved wounds onto your work, your choices, your life. And here's the brutal truth. When you let their opinions enter your mind and affect your actions, you are handing the wheel of your life to someone who cannot drive. You are giving a stranger the power to determine your direction. Before you feel hurt by someone's opinion, pause, ask one question. Has this person earned the right to evaluate me? Not academically, not socially, but genuinely. Have they faced what you face, built what you're building, chosen the hard path you are choosing? If the answer is no, and most times it will be, their opinion is data-free. It is noise. Filter it, discard it, move. The mentally strong man does not argue with critics. He does not defend himself to them. He does not post a response at 2 a.m. He builds and lets the result do the speaking. 2. Everything you cannot control. The second thing you must ignore is everything outside your control. This is the absolute foundation of Stoic philosophy. The great dividing line between suffering and freedom. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. Epictetus opens his Enchiridion, his handbook of Stoic practice, with these exact words. Some things are in our control and others not. 6 words. That's all it takes to reframe your entire existence. What is in your control? Your thoughts, your effort, your response, your character, your choices, right now, today, in this moment. What is not in your control? The weather, the economy, other people's decisions, traffic, disease, betrayal, loss, time. And yet, watch what men do. They rage at traffic. They obsess over what someone else said. They lose sleep over a conversation they cannot unhave. They spiral over a rejection they cannot reverse. They pour enormous emotional energy into the completely immovable. It's as if you're trying to push a mountain with your bare hands, wondering why you're bleeding and exhausted. Your job application gets rejected. You have no control over the hiring decision. What is in your control? How you prepared, how you respond, what you build next, how quickly you apply again. The man who fixates on the rejection. Why didn't they choose me? What did I do wrong? It's unfair. That man wastes weeks, months, sometimes years, orbiting a decision that has already been made by someone who has already moved on. The Stoic man acknowledges the loss in a breath, grieves it if necessary, and then redirects every unit of energy into what he can actually affect. Draw a circle. Inside it, write everything within your control. Outside it, everything that is not. Now ask, where am I spending most of my mental energy right now? If the honest answer is outside the circle, you are not managing your mind. Your mind is managing you. Bring yourself back, ruthlessly, every single day. This is not passive acceptance. This is strategic focus. The archer does not curse the wind. He adjusts his aim. 3. The past that cannot be changed. There is a particular kind of torture that human beings inflict on themselves with remarkable consistency. They replay the argument from 3 years ago, the opportunity they let slip, the version of themselves they were before things went wrong, the relationship that ended badly, the moment they chose fear instead of courage. They replay it, and replay it, and replay it, as if repetition could change the outcome. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Not because the past doesn't matter, but because the past no longer exists as anything other than memory, and memory, when obsessed over, becomes a prison. Here is what's really happening when you can't let go of the past. You have fused your current identity to a moment that has already ended. You are defining who you are today by something that happened to a version of you who no longer exists. The man who cheated on you, that moment is gone. The failure that humiliated you, that moment is gone. The version of you that didn't know better, gone. What is here is this moment, this breath, this choice. Modern psychology confirms what Stoicism taught 2,000 years ago. Rumination, the act of obsessively replaying the past, is one of the strongest predictors of anxiety and depression. It is literally a form of self-harm, and I say that with compassion, because most people who ruminate don't choose to. They were never taught how to close the door. When a past memory surfaces and you feel yourself being pulled into replay, stop. Say it aloud if you must. That moment has ended. It no longer has power unless I give it. Then ask, what does this past experience teach me about how to act right now? That is the only useful relationship with the past, not worship, not punishment. Instruction. Extract the lesson. Leave the wound behind. You are not who you were. You are who you are choosing to become. And that choice only lives in the present. 4. The fear of what others might think of your ambition. Let me ask you something. How many things have you not started because you were afraid of how it would look? How many conversations have you not had because you feared judgment? How many risks have you not taken because the possibility of public failure felt worse than private stagnation? This is one of the most crippling forces in modern life, and it operates silently. It doesn't announce itself as fear. It disguises itself as practicality, as humility, as realism. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's not the right time. What if it doesn't work out? What you're actually saying is, I am more afraid of what people will think if I fail than I am committed to what I could become if I succeed. Seneca wrote, "It is not that I am brave, it is that I know what is worth fearing." And this is the point. Fear itself is not the enemy. Misplaced fear is. Fear of real danger is wisdom. Fear of social judgment is a cage built from other people's imaginations. Think about every person you quietly admire, every builder, every creator, every man who walked away from the ordinary. They all had one thing in common. At some point, they stopped asking for permission. Not arrogantly, not recklessly, but deliberately. They decided that the vision inside them was more real, more true, and more valuable than the opinions of people who hadn't dared to try. Before you shrink from an ambition, name exactly who you are afraid of. Put a face on it. Say their name, then ask, in 5 years, will their opinion have mattered more than whether I tried? Usually the answer dissolves the fear immediately. And if you need courage, remember this. Most people who watch you fail are people who never tried. Their criticism is not insight. It is envy dressed as concern. Move anyway. 5. Comfort. We are living in the most comfortable era in human history, and it is making us fragile. Not physically weak necessarily, and although that too, but mentally fragile, emotionally avoidant. Allergic to discomfort in a way that our ancestors would have found incomprehensible. The Stoics practiced something called voluntary hardship, deliberately. Seneca would wear rough clothing in winter, eat minimal food, sleep on a hard floor, not because he had to, because he wanted to train his mind to remain calm when comfort was removed. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest food, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" This is almost alien to modern thinking. We spend extraordinary effort avoiding discomfort. Cold? Turn up the heat. Bored? Reach for the phone. Hungry? Order food in 10 minutes. Lonely? Scroll. Anxious? Medicate. We have engineered discomfort almost entirely out of our lives. And in doing so, we have engineered resilience out too. Because here's what comfort does. It trains you to need it. Every time you avoid a hard feeling, you confirm to your nervous system that hard feelings are dangerous, that you cannot handle them, that you need to escape. And slowly, without noticing, you become a man who can only function when everything is easy, which means the moment anything gets hard, a relationship, a career, a challenge, you break. Start small. Deliberate cold showers, skipping a meal, sitting with boredom without reaching for distraction. Doing the hard task first before the comfortable one. This is not masochism, this is calibration. You are teaching your body and your mind that discomfort is survivable, that you are capable of enduring difficulty without collapsing, that you are the master of your comfort, not its servant. When comfort is no longer something you fear losing, you become genuinely free. 6. The idea that emotions must be obeyed. We need to talk about emotion because there's a common misunderstanding about Stoicism that I want to address directly. The Stoics were not emotionless, they were not unfeeling machines. Marcus Aurelius wept for his children. Seneca wrote with extraordinary tenderness about friendship and love. Epictetus spoke with deep compassion about the suffering of others. What they rejected was not feeling. It was enslavement to feeling. There is a profound difference between the two. Anger is not the enemy. Unexamined anger, anger that you act on immediately without thought, without wisdom, that is the enemy. Grief is not weakness. Prolonged collapsing grief that becomes your permanent identity, that is the danger. Fear is not a flaw. Fear that paralyzes, that prevents action, that becomes the governing principle of your decisions, that breaks you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The Stoics taught that between stimulus and response, between what happens to you and what you do about it, there is a space, and in that space lives everything: your freedom, your character, your power. Modern neuroscience calls this the pause, the moment between impulse and action where, if you are trained and intentional, you can choose your response rather than merely react to it. Most men never find that space. They react immediately, automatically, often destructively. And then they spend weeks managing the consequences of 3 seconds of unexamined emotion. The man who texts his anger the moment he feels it. The man who quits the moment things get hard. The man who lashes out when he feels threatened. The man who cries at perceived slights and calls it strength. These are not signs of emotional depth. They are signs of emotional immaturity. The inability to feel without being controlled. When a strong emotion arises, do not immediately express it or suppress it. Observe it, name it. I am feeling anger right now. I am feeling shame right now. I am feeling fear. Watch it the way you'd watch a storm from inside a strong building. It's real, it's powerful. But you are not the storm. You are the structure. Give yourself a rule: no major decision, no important conversation, no significant action when you are at emotional peak. Wait. Sit with it. Let the wave move through, then act. From clarity, not from heat. This is not coldness, this is mastery. 7. The need for constant approval. Tell me, when was the last time you did something meaningful that no one else knew about? When did you last work in silence, give without announcement, sacrifice without recognition? Because there is a disease spreading through modern culture, an epidemic of performance, of posting, of broadcasting your pain, your growth, your discipline, your suffering, to collect the nod of strangers. This is the approval addiction, and it is crippling. When your peace depends on someone else's validation, you have outsourced your foundation. You have built your house on land that doesn't belong to you. Marcus Aurelius asked himself, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? And the same logic applies here. How much more painful is the absence of approval when you have trained yourself to need it than the original discomfort you were trying to escape? The man who does good work quietly, who builds, who improves, who grows without announcing it, that man has an internal compass. He knows his own worth independent of the crowd. The man who needs the world to see him, needs the world to validate him, will spend his entire life managing his audience instead of living his life. Social media has made this catastrophically easy to fall into. You post something, the likes don't come, and a feeling surfaces, a quiet, gnawing anxiety. Did I say something wrong? Do people not agree? Am I not enough? That anxiety is the sound of a man who has handed his sense of self to a platform, to an algorithm, to strangers. Practice invisible work. For 30 days, do something meaningful every single day that no one else knows about. A workout, a sacrifice, a kindness, a hard conversation with yourself, a skill practiced alone. Do it without telling anyone, without posting, without even hinting. Observe what happens inside you. Watch how uncomfortable it is at first. The urge to announce, to share, to be seen. And then watch what happens when you don't, when you hold it quietly. The work becomes yours, the identity becomes internal. The strength becomes real, and because it no longer depends on an audience. 8. Urgency that isn't real. Here is something the modern world does to your brain. It manufactures urgency, notifications, news cycles, social comparison, the anxiety of keeping up, the fear of missing out, the sense that if you don't respond, react, or act right now, something terrible will happen. And almost none of it is real. Seneca wrote with devastating clarity, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." He wasn't just talking about leisure. He was talking about false urgency. The urgent-seeming thing that steals the hour that belonged to something that actually mattered. The email that felt critical and was forgotten within a week. The social media argument that consumed an afternoon. The news story that triggered 2 hours of anxious scrolling. The group chat that demanded immediate response. These are urgency illusions. They feel pressing. They carry emotional weight. They masquerade as important, but they are not. And every hour you spend responding to false urgency is an hour stolen from your actual life. Your real work, your relationships, your development, your purpose. When something feels urgent, ask, will this matter in a week? If no, it is not urgent. It merely feels urgent. And feelings, as we've established, are not commands. Create a rule. Nothing that hasn't waited 24 hours gets a reactive response. This applies to arguments, to emotional decisions, to impulsive communications. The world trains you to react. The Stoic responds from stillness, from choice, from power. 9. The comparison that steals your present. There is a quiet violence in comparison. It doesn't announce itself as cruelty. It comes softly, through a glance at someone else's life, a scroll through success, a moment of why them and not me. And in that moment, your own path, which was real and yours and meaningful, suddenly becomes not enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The comparison trap is a form of time theft. Every moment you spend measuring yourself against another person's visible life is a moment you are not building your own invisible one. And here's the thing about comparison that no one says clearly enough. You are never comparing fairly. You are comparing their outside to your inside, their highlight to your behind the scenes, their finished product to your unfinished process. The man you envy is also lying awake at 3 a.m. He also doubts. He also has days where nothing works. His life is not as clean as the image he projects. No one's is. But even if it were, even if he genuinely has more, does more, is more in some external metric, so what? His path is not your path. His purpose is not your purpose. His season is not your season. The acorn doesn't look at the oak tree and call itself a failure. Replace comparison with curiosity. Instead of "why do they have what I don't?" ask, "What can I learn from their path that serves mine?" Instead of scrolling in envy, study in hunger. Transform the emotional energy of comparison into the useful energy of inquiry. And then close the phone and go back to your work, because the only person whose progress genuinely matters to your life is you. 10. The story you keep telling about why you can't. We've arrived at the 10th thing, and it is the one that underlies all the others. The story. Every man carries a story inside him, a narrative about who he is, what he's capable of, why things haven't worked, why he can't change, why his situation is different, why the rules don't apply to him the same way they apply to the men he admires. I'm not disciplined by nature. I grew up in a difficult environment. I don't have the connections. I'm too old, too young, too damaged, too far behind. These stories feel like truth. They have evidence, they have history, they have emotion behind them. But here is what Epictetus, the former slave, the man who had every legitimate reason to build a story of limitation, here is what he said: make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. He didn't say pretend your circumstances aren't real. He didn't say your history doesn't matter. He said use what you have, move with what exists, and release your grip on the story that says you cannot. Because the story of why you can't does one thing and one thing only. It protects you from the risk of trying and failing. That's it. That's its entire function. It is not wisdom, it is not honesty, it is emotional armor. And it has kept you safe. But it has also kept you small. The moment you dismantle the story, the moment you say, I don't know what I'm fully capable of, and I intend to find out, that is the moment your life actually begins. Let me be direct with you. You came here today because something in you is ready. Not ready to be comfortable, ready to be honest, ready to admit that the version of yourself you've been defending, the one built from old stories, borrowed opinions, unexamined fear, and comfortable excuses, that version is not serving you. And here is the deepest truth of everything we've discussed today. Mental strength is not built by adding things. It is built by removing them. Remove the opinions that were never qualified to enter. Remove the obsession over what cannot be changed. Remove the past that no longer exists. Remove the fear of being seen as ambitious. Remove the comfort that has made you soft. Remove the emotions you have obeyed instead of examined. Remove the approval you have lived for. Remove the false urgency consuming your hours. Remove the comparison stealing your present. Remove the story keeping you small. What is left when all of that is gone? You, the real you, quiet, powerful, clear. The version Marcus Aurelius was speaking to when he wrote his Meditations, not to the world, but to himself. Holding himself accountable, demanding more, refusing to be anything less than what he knew a man could be. You are not meant to be comfortable. You are not meant to be approved of. You are not meant to be safe. You are meant to be forged. And the forge is not external. It is in the choice, the one you make right now and every morning after this, to refuse what diminishes you and commit to what reveals you. The Stoics didn't call this happiness. They called it eudaimonia, flourishing, living in alignment with your highest nature. That nature exists in you. It has always existed in you. Stop ignoring it. If this reached something in you today, don't let it be forgotten by tomorrow. The mind forgets what it doesn't act on. And action starts with a single commitment. So drop this in the comments right now. I am no longer governed by what I cannot control. Just that. Write it. Mean it. Let it be the beginning. And if you know a man who needs to hear this, who is spinning in noise, in comparison, in stories that are keeping him small, share this with him. Not because it will fix everything, because it might start something. If you want to go deeper, the next video is already waiting for you. And if you're new here, welcome. This channel exists for one purpose: to equip you with the philosophy, the clarity, and the hard truths needed to build a life of genuine strength. Subscribe, stay. And remember, the Stoic does not merely endure the storm. He becomes the kind of man the storm cannot move.